Hello, innovators, and welcome to the Kezar Podcast, a podcast by Filipino startups for Filipino startups, where we talk about everything on Filipino entrepreneurship and dissect how you can turn your ideas into profitable businesses. I'm Edward Solicito, and today on our very first episode, we'll talk about how to register your startup. Kailan ka ba dapat magparehistro? Paano nga ba ito gawin? Ano ang mga requirements? Magkano ang dapat mong ihanda? At paano nga ba ito makakatulong sa startup mo? That and more at today's Kezar Podcast. Episode 1, again, first of all, thank you for taking the time to listen. This is our pilot episode, so if we do well, we'll definitely make more of this. That's why we pack this episode with a lot of things that we think will benefit the Philippine startup community. Lalong-lalo na sa iyo na isang Filipino entrepreneur. If it's not too much hassle, please like the podcast, subscribe, and share so that we can reach more people. Before we continue, we would like to thank one of our producers, Kezar 3D. Kezar 3D is a 3D printing startup that aims to make 3D printing accessible to all Filipinos through low-cost printing and modeling services. You'll hear about them later in the show. Ngayon, I am joined by the Chief Operating Officer of Kezar Innovations, Katherine Chua. Kat, welcome to the show.
Hi, Edward, and thank you for having me on the show.
Yan, so saktong-sakto. So I think, Kat, before we go on, we should tell our listeners first what we do at Kezar Innovations. So, Kezar Innovations is a Filipino design and development firm that focuses on turning innovative ideas into profitable businesses. So we are a development firm. As of today, we're a 1-year-old startup. Then we have incorporated 5 companies now. We've incorporated how many in Singapore?
We have incorporated 4 in Singapore and 1 in the Philippines.
Yeah, so 4 in Singapore, 1 in the Philippines. Within just this last year. With regards to funding, we have received over 14.7 million.
Cha-ching!
Yeah, and the total valuation of the portfolio that we have is 103,275,000. So we are doing this podcast to help aspiring Filipino entrepreneurs turn their ideas into startups. Let's start with our topic. Our topic for today is how to register a startup. And to answer that, we should first talk about when to register it and where to register it. Now, kinuha ko si Kat as my first guest because Kat has been responsible for most of the incorporations that we've done in Kezar Innovations, correct?
Just most.
Yeah, so you've incorporated 3. Oh no, you have incorporated 3 in
yes.
Singapore and 1 in the Philippines.
2 in Singapore, 1 in the Philippines.
Yeah, 2 in Singapore, then 1 in the Philippines. So those 2 is Kezar Atlas Technologies and Study Play.
Yes.
And the Filipino one is the
Kezar Philippines.
Kezar Philippines. The
and then this
subsidiary.
coming June, end of June, is Kezar 3D, our 3D printing startup.
Okay, so yeah, we'll be going to Singapore this month. So ikukwento namin mamaya yung tungkol doon. So let's start with our topic. So Kat, paano ba tayo nag-decide? Yun yung gusto din malaman ng marami nating listeners ngayon. Kailan ka ba magde-decide na kailangan ko nang magpa-incorporate? With regards to Kezar Innovations, paano tayo nagkaroon ng ano yung naging conversation natin
I
tungkol doon?
think the judgment call came when we decided na you really wanted to pursue Kezar Innovations full-time because that is the main factor as whether or not that's the last step that you take before the final leap of faith that you're going all out in the startup that you're pursuing, because you can have the business model, you can have all the plans, you can have the investments ready, your investors all eager and excited to start your business, but you can't actually operate yet until you incorporate your company.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't operate until you incorporate it here, particularly here in the Philippines,
Yes.
because that would entail yung mga mamaya nga natin pag-uusapan. Now, as I remember with Paul Galacan, when we had the conversation, Paul Galacan being one of the co-founders for Kezar Innovations, dalawa yung mga naging key points talaga namin nung simulang-simula. One is, you have clients na gusto na magbayad. So, revenue is just waiting. The problem is you can take in that money and that revenue before you do your incorporation kasi hindi ka pa talaga pwede mag-incorporate.
Yeah, that's an individual entity. You can't really take the money on behalf of the corporation.
Yeah, well, unless you go to sole prop, which
Yes.
is another
Completely
topic.
different.
Yeah, different topic.
Yeah.
We're We're gonna do an episode on that one. Pero sa ngayon, when we're talking about corporations, yun talaga yung kailangan. Kailangan mong magpa-incorporate talaga.
Yes.
And isa pa is, so yung pangalawang reason is because of our investors. Again, investors are putting in money into your business in a sense na may tiwala sila sa inyo.
Yeah.
That you're gonna turn that idea talaga into a legit business. At ang isang way talaga to become a legitimate business is basically registering it. So, pwede nyo siyang maging leverage na isama nyo siya na pag napondohan kayo, you'll do your incorporation, your investors can be incorporators as well. That becomes a value to them and mas maiengganyo sila na maging investor sa company mo.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yun yung una, yun yung when. So, again, that's basically it. Kayo mismo as a company, as a founding team, yung magde-decide talaga doon. Now, medyo curious tayo dun sa isa natin tanong. Ang tanong natin is when to register it and where to register it. Ngayon, Kat, bakit natin finocus dito sa topic natin? Bakit kailangan tanungin kung saan? May option ba ako?
You always have an option. Wow. So, when you talk about where you register your company, it also takes into account the type of environment that you want your startup to be in. The kind of branding and the image of where you incorporate also helps later on the valuation of the company, as well as the type of people that you attract to your startup.
Correct, yeah. So, that being said, ngayon, we have an option. So, sa amin, with regards to Kezar, we have two options. One is to do it first in the Philippines or to do it first in Singapore.
Yes.
So, Singapore, we're gonna talk about later on. It's one of our favorite countries simply because it has a booming startup community.
And the chicken rice.
Yeah, particularly. Yun yung excited kami bumalik sa Singapore. And sobrang bilis talaga. Mamaya natin pag-uusapan yan step by step. Okay, so Kat, dito na tayo sa process. Dito na tayo sa step by step. Ito yung pinunta talaga ng mga listeners natin dito. Kaya nila gustong pakinggan tong podcast natin. Ano yung kailangan kong gawin para ma-register yung business ko? Ngayon, tanongin kita, ano unahin natin, yung Philippines or yung Singapore?
Well, let's talk about the Philippines because, first of all, we're Filipino. And you are in the Philippines, and a lot of Filipino startups are confused as to how to incorporate their business here in the Philippines.
Yeah, so unahin natin yun. Sige, for the Philippines, ano yung unang-una? So, step 1, alam ko na gusto kong mag-incorporate.
Yes.
So, may startup ako, may grupo kami ng tropa namin, may grupo kami ng founders namin, gusto namin mag-incorporate, gusto namin mag-operate as soon as possible. Yun yung tatargetin namin Yun yung tatargetin natin kung kailan tayo pwede mag-operate. So, anong kailangan kong i-prepare? Unang-una.
First of all, you need to prepare the significant details and information for your startup. So that's the name of the business, the nature of the business, and then there's something called an industry code that pertains to the nature of the business. So the next is the list of incorporators. So these are the people you want involved in the incorporation documents, your directors or whatever, the address of these incorporators, the TIN or passport numbers of your incorporators, as well as the date and place issued of the TIN and or passport numbers.
Okay, so dun muna tayo sa mga nauna para isa-isa natin. Dun sa name of business, ano bang kailangan natin consider doon?
The name of the business, it will reflect the overall company. So like us, we named ours Kezar Philippines because we want to envelop the whole group of the Kezar startups.
Kezar startups, correct. With regards to that, ano ba, kailangan ko bang magbigay ng isa lang? Kailangan sakto? Paano ba?
It's actually best to have at least 2 more alternatives. So it's best to prepare 3.
Okay,
yes.
three names.
Yes.
Okay, so wala namang kahit na meron bang requirements?
There's no specific requirements, but I would ask you and suggest to all of you to do your due diligences and research if you have similar names from the name of the startup that you want. Because like for us, we have the Kezar Philippines, which was also in a bit of a pickle because we had Kezar 3D, which is a sole prop already.
Yeah. We registered, for your information, listeners, we've registered Kezar 3D sa DTI. So, anong problem nung we were registering Kezar Philippines, the Filipino subsidiary, napansin nila agad yon na parang may kapareho kami ng pangalan even though we own that company as well. So, kung kami nga mismo na ipagtama natin siya, I think it's really your responsibility to check kung baka meron kayong kapangalan na startup. Most probably, yung palang unang-una, magkakaproblema na kayo.
But again, if you're really, really decided that you want the name that is, somewhat similar to already a pre-existing company, make a letter of appeal to the SEC stating why it's different, the nature of the business between yours and the similar named company, and then you'll just have to wait later on for their approval.
Okay, that's great. So, meron na tayong pangalan. So, nature of business and industry code. Paano ko ito malalaman ka?
So, this one, SEC has a website. So, everything you do on filing for your incorporation is done online. You cannot go to the SEC office anymore and file for it manually. Everything is uploaded. You create a profile and account, and you reserve the name. And from the name reservation, there's a few days left for you to file for the rest of the details.
Okay. So, nandito tayo sa website ngayon. Meron tayong name of business. Na-search na natin yung nature of business sa SEC. With regards to the incorporators, meron ba tayong requirement doon?
For the incorporators, it's minimum of 5 here in the Philippines.
Yun, yeah. So, it's minimum of 5.
Yes.
Pero meron nga yung bago. It's what they call the one-person corporation or one-man corporation. With regards to that one, it just removes the requirement to have 4 additional incorporators. But basically, it's gonna be the same process. So, pareho pa din naman siya. At least, hindi mo na kailangan maghanapan ng extra 4 kung wala ka naman talagang ganong karami.
One-man team ka, go lang.
Kaya naman. So, at least may mag-incorporate lang nung company. Okay. So, with regards to the address, ano ba yun, Kat?
So, the address is the address of your incorporators.
Okay, so the address of the incorporators. Kung saan sila nakatira.
Yes, where you live.
Okay. So, with regards to the TIN and passport, so meron sila nun. So, dapat, anong gagawin ba sa TIN or passport? Ano ba?
You can decide whether or not you want it to be the TIN or the passport numbers. If you want everything to be uniform, make sure it's all TIN numbers. If the others don't have TINs, then preferably use your passports na lang.
Yeah, so this has to be what? Isa-submit ba or isa-scan lang?
So, for this, it's best to submit the list.
Okay.
So you can make a table of the name of your business, the nature of the business and industry code, the incorporators, your addresses, your TINs on the next column, and the date and place issued of the TIN or passport on the other column.
Okay, so then the next one nga is yung date and place nung issuance nung TIN and passport, which is nandun naman din sa IDs na yun. Okay, yun yung first half. Dito tayo sa last half nung kailangan natin i-prepare para dun sa website application ng SEC. Ano pa yung mga sumunod, Kat?
Next you'll need is the office address. So it's fine if you want to register your home address if you're going to work from home and register it as your office address. What's important is the SEC will know that there is a specific address talaga for your startup.
Okay, so the next one would be?
The next one is the number of shares and the distribution of shares among the incorporators.
Yeah.
So don't forget, the number of shares will reflect upon the capital. So you have to declare a capital amount of how much you think your business is worth at the time, and then the shares and the distribution of shares among your incorporators. So be careful when you declare or state your capital amount, because this is where you'll see how much it will cost you later on to register your business, and later on it will reflect the taxes that you will pay when you file for your BIR and everything else.
Yes, actually, yan yung nagiging usual na problem ng ating mga Filipino incorporators or founders. Gusto nila ng day one pa lang, sobrang laki na ng capitalization nila para magmukhang malaki yung value ng company. Now, the biggest problem for that one, again, sinabi na nga ni Kat, it is directly proportional dun sa babayaran nyo na for registration, una pa lang, yung incorporation cost nyo, and pangalawa, directly proportional din siya sa taxes na sisingilin sa inyo every year. So, ang problem niyan is ganito, taxes would never go down. Kung ano yung in-announce nyo, kung nag-announce kayo ng sobrang taas na capitalization sa year 1, automatic tataas yan ng tataas. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, pataas ng pataas yan hanggang sa mahirapan kayo. So ako lang, dapat make sure that you have your finances sorted out and make sure na saktong-sakto talaga yung capitalization
again, be very careful when you declare the capital amount, because if, let's say, you are a company that has a lot of equipment in the beginning and you declare it to be, let's say, 2,000, you can't declare 2,000, but let's say, as an example, 2,000 pesos worth of capital, they'll question you and say, why are you only declaring 2,000 worth of capital if you have, let's say, 200,000 worth of equipment?
Yeah, that's true.
So everything has to reflect on the type, on the nature of your business as well, because the SEC will audit you as well if you declare it as too low or too high.
Yeah, that's correct. Of course, meron ng mga ibang businesses na nag-register kasi sa kanila. So they have a baseline on what's the usual capitalizations for those industries.
Yes.
So kung ako sa inyo, para at least kung masilip man tayo ng SEC, may sagot kayo na yun talaga yung tamang capitalization nyo. Okay, so because naidagdag na natin sa requirements yung shares and distribution of shares. So yung pagkakahati-hati lang between the incorporators. Kung gusto nyong equal split, kung gusto nyong mas lamang yung naunang founder, depende na sa inyo yun. Capital and yung subscription, kung ilan yung automatic subscribe shares. Ano pa yung iba pa?
You have to note when your annual meeting will be for
Okay.
your directors and shareholders.
So requirement to na may annual
Requirement siya,
meeting.
yes.
Okay, so dito natin pinag-uusapan based dun sa ginagawa natin. So ito yung
Performance of
pinag-uusapan.
the company and everything else.
Yeah, so things with regards to the revenue,
Yes.
with the taxes, everything na mababago sa industry nyo, required by law na magkaroon ng meeting bawat corporation.
Yes.
Okay, meron pa ba pagkatapos nun?
Lastly, if you're going to file for any special, let's say tax exemptions or the like let's say PEZA, you also have to note down these special types of registrations early on. So basically, if you're trying to do an import business and export business, you have to also file for different types of things that will help you operate your startup.
Okay. So, yun na yung complete list, no?
Yes.
Yes. So, again, ulitin natin. Itong mga requirements na sinabi namin is gonna be the first step. Gagawin mo to before everything else. Ito yung una because ito yung mga requirement for your website application pa lang. So, i-run down natin yung mga list. Name of business, sana 3. Nature of business and industry code na mahanap nyo sa SEC. 5 incorporators, their addresses, their TIN or yung passport nila.
Yep.
The date and place na in-issued yung TIN, your passport nila, your office address, yung shares and distribution ng shares, kung ilan yung shares na isa-split nga within the incorporators, the capital and the subscription, kailan yung annual meeting, and of course yung mga special attachments nyo kung meron kayong mga special registration.
And don't forget as well pala to declare your corporate secretary and your treasurer early on.
Okay.
Para you know who among the incorporators or directors and shareholders is the person responsible for certain types of documents, which will be discussed later on.
Okay. So, nakumpleto ko na siya, Kat. Nailagay ko na siya dun sa website na kailangan. Anong sunod kong gagawin?
Next is you just wait.
Okay,
You submit everything online on the website, and then you can check your profile every other day. I suggest you check it every other day because every day is quite tedious.
Okay.
Yes.
So, pagkatapos na iniintay mo ba talaga? Anong ma-receive mo?
You'll be waiting from the SEC as whether or not they approve of the name and they approve of everything else of your application period.
Okay.
Yes. So after that, when your name is approved as well as your submitted application, the SEC will be sending you things to be signed for your pre-incorporation documents. So this is the article of incorporation, the bylaws, the cover sheet, the treasurer's affidavit, that's why I said to mention your treasurer early on, and the SEC order of payment.
Okay, so clarification lang, Kat. Isasend ba nila to sa atin?
They will have it sent to you. That is why you
PDF
know.
ba siya?
PDF siya.
Okay, correct. Okay.
And then you have to print everything on A4 paper.
Okay, so A4 paper and then you have to have it signed
Yes.
ng individual incorporators.
Yes, you will have these signed and notarized.
Yeah, ito ba yung binipirmahan na every page? Correct?
Yung articles of incorporation, yung bylaws, treasurer's affidavit, lahat yan pinipirmahan ng lahat ng incorporators sa baba or sa gilid ng paper.
Okay, then you have to have it notarized.
Yes.
Okay.
And when you have it notarized, make sure that all of you are physically present. And if you are not physically present, you'll have a copy of a valid ID, a passport, a driver's license, or whatever, scanned copy of your fellow incorporators who cannot be present with their specimen's signature.
Okay, so yun. Pagkatapos nito, nakumpleto ko na, okay, i-rundown ulit natin. After na ma-receive mo, dapat napirmahan nyo na yung articles of incorporations,
Yes.
bylaws, cover sheet, treasurer's affidavit, and yung SEC order of payment. Pag kumpleto ko na yun, Kat, ano na yung gagawin ko?
What happens is you're going to send it back to the SEC via courier.
Okay, via courier.
Yes. And then you'll be waiting again. So, upon this is another waiting period where everything's a bit delayed. This one will take a bit longer. This is a few months.
Okay.
Yes. So, after everything, you will then receive the status of your corporation registration, and you will receive the SEC certificate. If it's approved, you will receive the SEC certificate, the URR, which stands for the Unified Registration Record, the SEC official receipt, and they'll give you back your payment assessment form, your articles of incorporation, your bylaws, cover sheet, everything else.
Okay. So ito galing naman siya sa SEC.
Yes.
Via courier then
Yes.
ma-receive mo siya ng sama-sama na.
Yes, magkakasama na siya.
Okay, so by that time, meron ka ng SEC certificate. Pwede ka na bang mag-operate nun?
You cannot operate legally without paying tax unless you file for your BIR. And you cannot file for your BIR unless you file for your local government unit documents, which is your business permits, your business clearance, your mayor's permits, everything else.
Okay, so hindi pa pwede. After nyo magpa-incorporate, automatic dito ka naman babagsak ngayon sa mga local government units nyo.
Yes.
And then kailangan mong kumuha ng mga permits to operate.
Yes, so the local government unit pertains to the office area, where your office space is registered.
Okay.
So, kung saan mo ni-register yung sa SEC na office ninyo, kunwari kami nasa Tanawan, you will go to your LGU, which is wherever it is in yung city hall, municipal hall, whatever.
So, nung experience natin dyan, nauna is yung sa barangay muna,
Yes.
clearance to operate, and
You
then
get your business permit application form first.
Okay. The
Yes.
business permit application muna, and then yung barangay clearance nga
Yes.
natin. And then automatic, doon na tayo pumunta sa City Hall
Yes.
para ayusin yung mayor's permit na
Yes.
mayroong mga requirements like yung fire inspection,
Yes. Zoning clearance,
yung lease contract,
Correct.
yung permits nung nagpa-lease sa inyo nung space.
Yes.
Magkakasama yon. Tutulungan naman kayo ng mga LGUs nyo kung ano yung mga
They have a
step-by-step.
checklist in the LGU of what you're going to accomplish, and they will direct you from which office to which that you'll accomplish next.
Yeah, pero this one is gonna be
This is
tedious lang talaga.
oo.
Kasi palipat-lipat kami mga ibang province, ibang cities na yung fire department niya nasa ibang
Nasa
lugar
ibang district,
pa. Kailangan mo pang may sasakyan ka talaga or
Yes.
kailangan mo magbiyahe papunta dun sa fire. Kailangan mo bumiyahe papunta dun sa susunod. Kailangan mo lumipat ulit. Meron din naman mga ibang city hall na magkakasama na doon. So, kung swertihin kayo, yun yung maganda. Pero kung hindi, you're gonna spend a lot of time
Yes.
and medyo nakakapagod talaga siyang gawin.
Tama.
Okay. So, after nun, na makuha mo, again, everything na ginagawa mo for LGU is for the mayor's permit.
Yes.
And ginagawa mo rin siya kasi siya yung pinakamabigat na requirement for the BIR. Correct?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So, after kung magawa yung BIR, can I operate now?
Yes, your
Okay.
BIR.
Yung BIR.
But the LGUs were not the BIR yet.
Yeah. So, the LGUs muna is pag nakuha ko yung mayor's permit doon. So,
Yes.
that's gonna be the step, correct?
Tama.
And then ngayon is BIR. Kapag na-approve yung BIR with some of the requirements that they're gonna have, particularly some affidavits, and tatanungin lang naman yung registered it varies kasi pero after the BIR, would you be...
You can now legally operate once
Okay.
you have registered for your BIR.
Okay, so andun na tayo. Okay, Kat, bigyan natin sila ng timeline. Mula dun sa time na naghahanap pa tayo ng pangalan until time na ngayon na you can now operate. Gano'ng katagal yun?
5 to 6 months.
Wow, 5 to 6 months. Okay, so like half a year talaga siya natatrabuhin.
Yes.
Pero is this because hindi lang tinututukan or dahil ganun lang talaga yung proseso?
There's really delays for the SEC application specifically. For the
Okay.
SEC kasi, maghihintay ka talaga. That's the one that will take around 4 to 5 months.
Yes.
For the LGUs and the BIR, that can take you about 1 month. Everything na yun for the LGU and the BIR.
Okay.
So, I forgot to mention, when you file for your BIR, make sure that you file for it right after you file for your
Correct,
SEC
yeah.
registration. Because if not, for every day that you miss after the SEC registration, you will be paying for penalty fees.
Yeah,
for
so
your company.
kaya kailangan talagang magkakasunod siya. I-ready talaga na kapag, hindi pwede na kapag, kunyari, okay, gusto ko lang magpa-incorporate and then after saka na lang ako paghingi
Yes.
ng SEC, ay ng BIR. Kailangan dire-diretso siya. Kung hindi, every day, mag-i-incur kayo ng penalties.
Yes. You don't want to be wasting money and thinking that you don't want to waste time going to the BIR or the LGU to finish your other documents. No, you cannot operate yet, and if you are, oh my God, huhulihin kayo. Joke lang.
Yeah. It's just unahin nyo talaga yun. Okay, Kat. Dito na tayo. Mamaya natin pag-uusapan kung magkano yung kailangan mong ihanda.
Okay.
We're gonna do it on the second part. Pero ngayon, lipat tayo dun sa isang bansa. Yung isa sa mga naging strategy natin sa Kezar. Let's talk about Singapore. So sa Singapore, bigyan mo naman kami ng breakdown kung ano yung mga kailangan ko. Given na, kumbaga, may mga katulad din naman siya dun sa Philippine corporation natin.
Okay.
For the Singaporean incorporation, anong kailangan i-prepare?
For the Singapore Incorporation, you need to prepare two things specific na main talaga. So the first is your incorporation details and documents, and the second is your corporate secretary.
Okay.
So breaking it down, looking at the necessary documents and information that you need to set up your company is the same more or less as the stuff that you filed for in your SEC. That's the name of the business, so prepare at least 3 also. The 2 natures of the businesses, this time it's 2 natures of business.
Okay.
So here you look for the SSIC code, which you can Google of under ACRA. So ACRA is the SEC equivalent of Singapore naman in Singapore.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
2 natures of business.
Yes.
Ang kagandahan dito sa ganitong setup nila, pwede for example sa atin sa Study Play, which is an educational toy.
Yes.
So, we registered the 2 nature of business there na
We registered it as design and fabrication
Okay.
as well as distribution.
yeah, the reason why we did that was because in Study Play, we design and fabricate our own toys. And then using our 3D printers with partnership with Kezar 3D. And then we also sell them in retail and online. So yun yung dalawang sakto sa amin. So yun yung pwede mong kunin ngayon sa SSIC and register it that way.
Yes.
Okay, dito tayo sa next one, Kat. Ano pa ba? Maliban doon sa dalawang yun.
After that, you have to take note of the address of principal place of business. So this pertains to your Philippine address as to if you're Filipino going to incorporate your startup in Singapore. So your principal place of business pertains to where you're actually doing all the administrative work and where you're operating talaga.
Okay, so next one is...
The next one is the registered address in Singapore. Now, usually, this can be under your corporate secretary, but you can declare otherwise if you're already going to look for your own office space or operations warehouse or whatever in Singapore.
Okay, so let's just clarify for our listeners, for the sake of our listeners, kung ano yung sinasabi natin na corporate secretary. Now, when we talk about corporate secretary firms in Singapore, this is actually a company that will help you incorporate in
Yes.
Singapore. So, dalawa yung inaatake nila. So, incorporation na sila din yung accounting firm na una magbabantay ng mga finances nyo for the
Yes.
audit. So, kumbaga, all-in-one shop na siya. Kaya nabanggit ni Kat agad kanina na isa is i-prepare nyo yung documents and the other half of the preparation is yung pakikipag-usap nyo sa corporate secretary nyo.
Yes.
Now, merong ibang mga corporate secretary na mas magaganda, mas mahal ng konti, mas magaganda yung packages, may virtual office na sila, meron pa silang mga kung ano-ano.
Meron silang resident directors,
Yes.
meron silang 1 year worth of bookkeeping and the like, whatever.
Yeah. And then yung iba, meron naman very straightforward lang na kapag nakikinig kayo ngayon, most probably magagawa nyo na siya dahil nga ito din naman yung mga sasabihin nila sa inyo. So again, sulit naman yung pakikinig natin sa Kezar Podcast. Now, ituloy natin. With regards to the registered address in SG, so automatic, kung meron kayong corporate secretary, may ibibigay sa inyo if ever ka part ng package. Pero,
This can come with a fee.
most probably it's gonna come with, talagang usually, it comes with a fee. Or if you have, meron kayong particular place na gusto nyo dun talaga mag-office sa Singapore, then mas okay.
Yes.
Okay, Kat, meron pa ba tayong iba pa? Ano pa yung sunod?
After that, you have to also note your declared capital, and then you have to note the source and the origin of your funds.
Okay, ano yun?
So, yan yung, okay, kunwari, sa Kezar Atlas, when we set up in Singapore, we noted that we're opening up Singaporean corporation under Kezar Atlas because that's where we want to hold all of our investment funds and everything else for the business for Kezar Atlas.
Okay.
Yes.
So, kumbaga, note this is what? Declared capital or origin of funds?
This is the origin of your funds.
Ulitin natin. Ha? I mean, akala ko sa investments lang. Like, pwede mong investments lang.
Oo nga. Origin of your funds is the investments.
Sabi mo yung reason why we incorporate that.
After your registered address in Singapore.
Okay, so we have the registered address in Singapore. So, maliban dun sa mga yon, ano pa ba ang requirements natin?
Of course, you're going to declare the capital amount. So, that can be as low as $1 Singaporean or as high as whatever you want.
Okay.
Yes.
So, meron din ba siyang implications katulad dun sa Philippines?
Well, of course, may mga taxes pa siya and everything. It will also reflect on your business. But again, it's up to you as incorporators how much you want to declare as your capital.
Okay, the next one would be?
The next one is you have to tell the corporate secretary the source and the origin of the funds that you'll be putting into your Singaporean corporation.
Origin of funds? Ano yun?
So this can pertain to kung saan manggagaling yung pera. This can come from the employment, the business, or if it's from an investment pool.
Okay, so kumbaga tinatanong lang naman nila kung saan magagaling capitalization. Okay, so bigyan natin yung rundown ng first couple of mga una nating nabanggit na name of business, two natures of business, address of principal place of business, registered address in Singapore, declared capital, and note the source and origin of funds. Ano pang sunod natin, Kat?
After that, you also have to tell them if you have expected Singaporean customers or suppliers. Kung meron man kasi, they want to know how it's going to affect the overall business and if you're going to help boost the Singaporean economy.
Yeah. So I mean, it just boosts your application. Siyempre kung sasabihin natin that you're gonna have business with some of their startups as well, mga ganung bagay, it's gonna add value to your application. Kumaga mas mabilis siya siguro. Pero sobrang bilis lang sa Singapore. Kami naman never pa kami nagkaroon ng issue with regards to that one.
Yes. No problem.
Yep. Next natin, Kat. Ano pa ba?
Next is you have to tell them you have to give them an estimate of the annual turnover or breakdown of revenue that you'll be incurring in Singapore and or here in the Philippines or overseas, wherever you are.
So that would mean like
this is
percent
all of the
na Philippine yung revenue is galing sa Philippines.
Yeah, kung how much comes from the Philippines, how much comes from Singapore, if you have elsewhere. More or less yung lahat ng financial breakdown.
Yeah, it's gonna be projections lang naman siya,
diba? Yes, estimates lang naman siya.
Okay, so doon na tayo. After nun projections, ano pa?
After that, you have to also tell them the location of your business operations mismo. So this can be different from the principal place of business and your registered address in Singapore. It can be either of the two, but not both. Because you can be holding your operations, kunwari, for study play. Our operations for the research and development and the fabrication comes here in the Philippines compared to as of that in Singapore. Because in Singapore, that's where you're only holding the money, the investment pool.
Yes. Okay, so iklaro lang natin. May marami tayong address na nabanggit. Yes. So tatlo yung nandito sa requirements. First is the address of the principal place of business. Ito yung headquarters nyo. Ito yung main office nyo talaga na kung nasan man kayo sa buong mundo, ito yung kailangan nyo i-disclose sa kanila. Yun yung tinatawag na address of principal place of business. Yung pangalawa is yung registered address in Singapore. Kailangan meron kayong office space doon na tatawagin nyo na opisina nyo talaga. Para yun yung maging pupuntahan ng ACRA representatives kung magkakaroon ng konting requirements na kailangan tang i-classify.
This can be the virtual office.
Even virtual office, okay lang din naman sa kanila. Now, yung pangatlo is yung business operations location. Pwede kasi na it can be the same place din dun sa principal place of business kung dun din pareho, or pwede siyang magkaiba kung admin office lang naman yung principal place of business tas yung operations sa ibang lugar, yun yung kailangan yung i-declare. So tatlo yun. Sana naging malinaw sa inyo. Meron pa bang iba maliban dun, Kat?
Other than that, you also need to tell them the purpose of setting up in Singapore, syempre. So it's different from whether or not you have Singaporean customers or suppliers, because you want to tell them if you're going to indicate na you're going to run the business from there, you're going to hold the investments there, or other purposes such as yung ginawa namin is we told them that we wanted to make the most of the startup environment there. We were going to hold a lot of meetings for our VCs, VBs, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. So, yeah. So, technically, gusto lang naman nilang malaman. After that, Kat?
After that, you have to tell them if you're going to hire local staff in Singapore. So when you set up shop, they want to know if you're gonna have employees na Singaporean ba or Filipino or whatever.
Okay, so sunod dyan is...
Sunod dyan is ito. The same as that of in the Philippines. The list of directors, this is also your incorporators, na full names. Note that for your incorporators in Singapore, you will need a resident Singaporean local.
Okay.
Yes. So, for the Singaporean resident director, you can also opt to avail of this from your corporate secretary because, kunwari, wala kayong kakilala sa Singapore but you want to set up shop in Singapore for your corporation.
Right, yeah.
You can ask them and they will give it to you. They'll give you a name, they'll give you a point person at a fee.
Yeah, because naalala ko bigla yan yung actually naging una nating problema.
Yes.
When we were setting up Kezar Innovations in Singapore. Kasi the problem is, we don't know, we know a couple of people pero wala kami kilala na part talaga ng, kumbaga part agad ng startup community na kilala namin sa Singapore. So, the idea is naghanap muna kami and sinigurado namin na someone who can kumbaga he can represent our brand as well as again they're gonna be a resident director. Hindi lang sila kung sino lang, they're gonna be the Singaporean resident director. So gusto mo na kumbaga saktong-sakto din siya dun sa mga alam niya din kung ano yung mga magiging plano ng startup nyo. So, kapag nahanap niyo na siya and then sakto naman. Pero again, like nabanggit nga ni Kat, kung wala talaga kayong makita, is ibibigay naman, pwede naman kayong bigyan ng corporate secretary office niyo. That being said, sobrang mahal niya. Hindi siya okay, hindi namin siya nire-recommend for a startup that's just starting.
Yes, especially if you want someone in Singapore who's going to be involved in your startup to meet other people there na in the different types of industries na you want to try and entering into.
Yeah, okay. So we have now the directors. Ano yung sunod ka?
After that, so ito naman yung corporate shareholders. So directors are different from the corporate shareholders. Directors mo are the specific people na point persons talaga in your company. Let's say those who are the decision makers of the corporation. Whereas shareholders can be basic lang na investors lang sila, consultants lang, but they're not as involved into the corporation.
Okay.
Yes.
So, malinaw yung directors are people na pwede nyo kausapin ng every week or every day that has, kumbaga, management decisions within your company. And your shareholders is someone who just invested in your company, which is very much valuable. If they want to be included in the incorporation papers, then they will be classified as shareholders.
Yes.
Okay, Kat, dun sa directors and shareholders, may mga kailangan ba tayo sa
For
kanila?
the shareholders, you need to know that each corporate secretary has a limit as to the basic number of corporate shareholders without fees. So every time, kunwari, you add more than 3 shareholders in your list for the corporation, you will be incurring costs for every additional 1 shareholder past 3 people.
Yeah, so it depends on the corporate secretary firm that
Depende
you
naman
have.
siya.
So, merong iba na libre yung 2, may iba libre 3. Pero again, kung gusto niyo 100, sobrang mahal siya kasi it's directly proportional to the cost na kailangan yung bayaran for
It
ACRA.
is highly recommended that you keep your group of shareholders and directors to a minimum or a smaller group, something that you can control. Don't go as far as 20 kasi sobra-sobra naman yun.
Yeah, and again, I mean...
There's more to it later, pero yeah.
Okay. So, next pa is...
Next for this is, for the list of directors and shareholders, you will need to get all of their significant documents. So similar as to a while ago, the TINs and passports, you will need for a Singaporean resident, their Singaporean identity card, if you will declare your own local resident.
Okay.
And the clear scanned copies of valid passports of your directors and shareholders, notarized with specimen signatures. So notarized all here in the Philippines.
Yes.
And then the clear scanned copies of your proof of billing address, notarized also with their specimen signatures. So please note for the proof of billing address, it needs to be dated within the last 2 months before you submit this to your corporate secretary. Because they need to know that everything's up to date and everything is still valid.
Yeah, so this is just to find, kumbaga, them verifying if merong presence talaga dito or tama yung address na nilagay nyo with regards to your investors.
Tama. And next after that is, of course, their mobile or contact numbers, their email addresses, the breakdown of the shares that you will be giving each shareholder and director, as well as you need to inform your directors and shareholders. I repeat, inform them of the day and time you will meet your corporate secretary for verification. I'll explain this later, but it's very important that you are always in communication with your shareholders and directors.
Okay. So, eksaktong nang yon. Again, medyo kunyari, detalyado namin siyang naikwento sa inyo, mga listeners. Pero basically, this is just one whole list na i-send sa inyo ng corporate secretary nyo, pwede kayong gabayan, para na kailangan nyo lang sagutin, then automatically the first step of your incorporation process is done. So, bigyan namin kayo ulit ng rundown para at least mai-prepare nyo siya. Name of business, 2 natures of business from the SSIC, address of principal place of business, registered address in Singapore, declared capital note, source and origin of funds, expected Singaporean customers and suppliers, estimated annual turnover and breakdown of revenue in Singapore or overseas. Business operations location, purpose of setting up in Singapore, will you be hiring local staff, the full names of the directors, the full names of the shareholders, the Singaporean identity card for your resident Singaporean director, clear scanned copies of their valid passports, notarized with specimen signatures, clear scanned copies of their proof of billing address. It needs to be within 2 months, notarized, and of course with specimen signatures as well. Their mobile numbers. Ulitin namin talaga ito. We're gonna stress it out. Their mobile numbers na gumagana at pwedeng tawagan. More on that later. The email address, the breakdown of shares, and of course nga yung information about na kailangan nyo silang sabihan na may tatawag sa kanila for verification. Okay, after nun, na-prepare ko na siya, Kat. Nasagutan ko na yung pinabibigay mo sa akin. Anong sunod na step natin?
Find your corporate secretary.
Okay. So, paano yun?
So, finding a corporate secretary is very easy. You can Google it because Google is the answer to everything. So, when you look for a corporate secretary, you just have to search for people or entities or companies that will do incorporation processes for you. Usually, it can happen 2 ways or a third way if you copy us. So, the 2 ways is, of course, online filing. So, similar to SEC, each corporate secretary will have their own website as to where you can upload all of the documents I mentioned a while ago, or you can file it in person. Me and Edward, we have a special relationship with our corporate secretary for Kezar. So we have a system with them where we communicate with them as to what documents to prepare beforehand, have everything signed, and then we fly out to them to have everything verified, signed, and validated.
Okay. So, pwede mo ba kami bigyan ng rundown lang, Kat, ng steps kapag na-prepare na namin yung first step?
Okay. So when you prepared your first few documents, you submit these documents to your corporate secretary for them to review. Usually, review will take about 1 to 5 days. And once they've already gauged the number of shareholders, the types of different services and additional fees that you'll be incurring for your incorporation, they will give you a pro forma invoice. Upon the invoice, when you pay for this service, it will take about another 2 to 5 days to prep the said documents, depending on your corporate secretary. Kung magaling sila, they can prepare it in 1 day. Kung hindi, if they have a lot of other clients, then it will take about 3-5 days.
Okay, Kat, yung sa submit, yung sa first step natin, sila yung magsasend lang naman, di ba?
Yes.
Through PDF lamang to, email lang naman siya.
Yes.
Correct?
So, for the corporate secretary to prep your documents, very similar lang siya sa SEC. They will be sending you back a PDF of all of your pre-incorporation documents. So, this one will consist of 6 documents. Your client acceptance form, your first board resolution and share application form, Form 45, the corporate secretarial service agreement, your constitution, and your registered office address service agreement.
Yeah, just to give you a reminder, kasi baka magulat sila, baka matakot sila. All of these are templates na.
Yes.
Kumbaga, naka-prepare na siya, you're just gonna be putting the exact information na different sa startup mo.
Yes.
Kumbaga, madali lang naman siya.
Ang magbabago naman dito is, they've already input the details of your shareholders, of your company, your nature of business, and everything all you will need to do with these pre-incorporation documents is to review it for any typographical errors or any errors whatsoever. From experience, because yung mga times na, oh my God, yung shareholder namin, hindi pala siya tama yung spelling, mali yung passport number niya, mali yung birthday, or mali yung mobile number, hindi siya makontak ng corporate secretary, hassle siya. So, always double check your documents that they send back to you.
Okay, so after you have it, so na-prepare na natin si Ned yung mga previous answers na kailangan nila, and then automatic nag-submit tayo ng additional documents kung kailangan. Binayaran na natin yung corporate secretary office, prepare na nila yung pre-incorporation documents.
Yes.
Pinapirmahan mo na sa, tama ba?
So yes, when you get the 6 pre-incorporation documents, review it for where each person will sign, because there are specific forms for different people.
Wait, so ang kailangan pumirma is not just the founders, it's the incorporators talaga lahat?
Yes, lahat ng shareholders na i-declare mo dun sa incorporation documents mo, nandyan na siya. So, in the client acceptance form, lahat kayo magsasign, directors and shareholders.
Okay.
The first board resolution, again, directors and shareholders. Form 45 is all of the directors. The corporate secretarial agreement is for all of the directors. The constitution is for everyone, shareholders and directors. And the registered office address service agreement is for your corporate secretary, aka usually your resident local Singaporean director.
Okay. So, pag i-ready na siya, lahat ng yon, paano mo siya ma-send? Ito ba yung reason kaya tayo pupunta sa Singapore? Dinadala natin
Yes,
doon?
ito yung medyo time-consuming, getting all of the signatures. And when you have all of the signatures and you made sure that everything is correct and according to detail, that is when you have to go and personally deliver and sign the said documents at the corporate secretary's office in Singapore.
Okay. So, pagkatapos nun, ano nang gagawin natin, Kat?
You'll eat chicken rice.
Yeah, eat chicken rice in Singapore. Yeah, sobrang sarap niya talaga. Pero kapag nandun ka na, anong kailangan lang gawin? So, dadalhin mo dadalhin mo sa maleta mo yung mga documents.
Yes.
No?
Again, just to reiterate, when you print out your pre-incorporation documents, make sure to print out at least 2 copies.
Yun, okay.
Baka man lang umulan dito sa Pilipinas kapag nagpapasign ka at kung ano man lang nangyari dyan sa ink na yan, or kung mawala yung isang set of documents mo, at least you have a backup.
Yes. So what we do is, kapag pupunta kami sa Singapore ni Kat, yung isa may hawak ng isang set of documents, yung isa may isang set ng documents, para kung ano man magka-problema, may mawala man na luggage, at least yung objective namin para pumunta ng Singapore is magagawa.
Sino man makawala ng documents, siya ang manlilibre ng kaya toast and everything else.
Okay, so dala mo na nasa Singapore ka na, Kat. Anong sunod mong gagawin?
So when you're in Singapore, this is why I was mentioning a while ago, it's very important to tell your shareholders and directors of the day and time that you will be at the corporate secretary's office. So here, when you go to the corporate secretary, they will review your signed documents. And during this time period, when you visit your corporate secretary, they will verify and validate all of the details by contacting each and every one of the shareholders and directors for their respective information. Kaya sobrang importante talaga na you make sure every bit of information is correct and in line, because this is when they'll be calling your shareholders and asking them, hello, is this Edward Solicito? Is this your birthday? Is this your passport number? Can you tell me your home address? Can you tell me where you live?
Yeah.
Blah,
So,
blah,
kung
blah.
dapat magsakto siya dun sinubmit niya na proof of billing,
Yes.
para ma-confirm lang talaga ng corporate secretary.
If something doesn't add up, then this will cause a delay in the process of your incorporation. Also, if they cannot get in contact with your shareholder or director, GG ka boy. Because this is why you keep your shareholder group and your directors group to a minimum. So it's easier to contact a handful of people rather than contacting 20 people na hindi mo rin masabihan or hindi mo rin na communicate na, okay sir, we'll be here in Singapore at this day, at our corporate secretary's office for 2 hours, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., please keep your phone on and make sure that you're available to take a call because they will be verifying your information.
Yeah, kasi very simple lang yung pwede mangyari. Like for example, they're on a meeting or biglang nagde-drive sila, then hindi nila masagot, that will cost you a day in Singapore kasi kailangan nyo bumalik on the next day and you're gonna do the verification all over again. So, very crucial yon. Same din sa amin. I mean, kinakabahan kami every time kung sasagot lahat na incorporators namin and of course kung sakto yung lahat ng documents. Pero kung magawa nyo naman siya, saktong-sakto.
Yes.
Kat after nun, ano nang gagawin?
After nito, so once they have contacted all of your shareholders and directors and once they've reviewed everything and everything is A-okay, you are done. You wait for 1 day for the ACRA accreditation because ACRA can approve it on the same day. But be very careful because kung mahuli kayo ng random audit ng ACRA, then you can take an extra 2 to 5 days for the process.
Yeah, but this time naman, you can go home back to the Philippines.
You can go home back to the Philippines or
wait for the email. Yeah,
you can wait for the email or you can stay in Singapore because later on, upon the approval, they will be giving you the company registration documents na notice of incorporation, constitution, company profile, and the company stamp.
Okay.
So the company stamp kasi will be delivered to you if you are not in Singapore and the shipping fee is also another wasted resource. So might as well stay in Singapore for an extra 2 to 5 days.
To make sure that you're incorporated.
Yeah, to make sure you're incorporated, to get the company stamp without incurring shipping fees, to meet other people, to eat more noodles and
chicken
roast duck.
Yeah.
Go sightseeing.
Yeah. Okay, so dito tayo sa tanong natin kanina ulit, Kat.
Yes.
After natin nagawa, again, very comprehensive yung ginawa natin na list for Singapore. Kung nakumpleto ko na lahat ng forms na yun, nagawa ko na lahat ng answers, nasagot ko na lahat ng answers, andito na sa point na na-receive ko na yung notice of incorporation, pwede na ba akong mag-operate?
No.
Okay, bakit?
You need to set up in the Philippines.
Correct, yeah.
If you want to operate here in the Philippines.
That's true. Pero, I mean, kung gusto nyo naman na mag-operate sa Singapore,
then you are good to go because
Yes.
they'll also serve as your accounting firm and everything else is already legal since you've set up your registered office addresses and everything.
Exactly. So, ang reason kaya namin bring up yung setup na to is if ever your company is particularly in the research and development stage pa lang, or hindi nyo pa naman kailangan kumuha ng revenue, hindi nyo pa kailangan mag-pay ng taxes kasi wala pa naman kayo nakukuha na sales, then an incorporation in Singapore would be very much beneficial.
Yes.
You'll be a legitimate business. You can do partnerships with organizations, do business in Singapore as well, and do international business pa rin kung nandun kayo sa Singapore. So, dito kasi sa Pilipinas, day 1 pa lang, you'll be incurring taxes na agad. Sa Singapore, the reason why we love it is because merong tax shield doon, tax holiday doon, ng a year up to 3 years, depende sa amount na nadadala mo. So, syempre, mas malaki, mas mabilis mauubos yung credits mo and magbabayad ka agad. Pero, yun ang kagandahan kasi you don't want to be paying taxes nung wala naman talagang pumapasok na pera. That's why the Singaporean incorporation process is very friendly to startups.
Yes.
So, Kat, dito na tayo ngayon sa inaabangan talaga ng mga listeners natin. Magkano ba yung kailangan kong i-prepare kung magpapa-register ako sa Philippines? Magkano ba yung dapat kong i-prepare kung magpapa-incorporate ako sa Singapore? Pero before you answer that question, before we go talk about it, magkano talaga siya, I would like to thank our producers, Kezar 3D. You might be a student who needs a prototype for your project or a startup who wants to make your design into a tangible product so that you can get your potential investors excited. 3D printing is the best solution for you. Kezar 3D is one of the largest 3D printing startups in the country, with 3D prints shipped nationwide. Just send your 3D files to our website, kezar3d.com. That's KEZAR3D.com and get a free quotation. You will receive your prototypes within days. Share this podcast so that you may win 500 pesos worth of gift certificates. Just hit the share button and use the hashtag Kezar Podcast. Kezar 3D, making 3D printing accessible to all Filipinos. Thank you, Kezar 3D. Okay, Kat, ito na yung naabangan nila. Magkano ba yung kailangan kong gastusin? Dito muna tayo sa Philippines. How much will it cost?
So for the Philippines, give or take around 20,000 pesos.
Okay, 20,000 pesos, yun na lang ba yung kailangan mong bayaran?
More or less.
Okay.
For everything. If you're going to do everything yourself, it can cost around 25,000 pesos.
Okay. Pero paano kapag yung nabanggit natin kanina that you have a runner or a secondary, magkano ba usually yung mga pwedeng tumulong sa iyo?
A runner for everything as well. Kasi they're going to do everything, going back to the offices and checking up on your incorporation, your BIR. It will cost you around 50 to 75,000 pesos.
For the whole thing?
For everything. All of the services, all of the processes, documents,
Kasama na
everything
dito
will
yung
be done.
BIR, so pwede
Kasama
ka
na dyan
mag-operate
yung BIR and
pagkatapos.
everything. Tama.
Okay, so sa Philippines, it's gonna take you 6 months to 8 months for either 20,000 pesos kung ikaw yung gagawa
Yes.
or up to 75,000 pesos kung may runner ka, so mag-iintay ka na lang
Yes.
ng iyong incorporation. Now, with Singapore, so nabanggit mo kanina, it will take around
For Singapore, it can take you 1 month. Maximum na yun.
para makumpleto mo na lahat.
Yes, maximum na yun.
Okay. So, how much would it cost?
It will cost you around 90,000 to 100,000 pesos, not including flight accommodations and food.
Yeah, and of course, yun nga nabanggit natin kanina, it won't include yung kung marami kayong talagang
Yes.
incorporators. So, mas marami incorporators, mas mapapamahal kayo.
Yes.
But again, nabanggit na namin kanina yung advantage ng pag-incorporate sa Singapore and yung advantages din kapag, well, required ka naman talaga na mag-incorporate dito sa Philippines. Okay, so I think that's it. So, we're gonna hit the 1 hour mark na. So, we're gonna finish this off. Pero, matanong nyo siguro sa amin, Edward, bakit sinabi niyo pa sa amin yung Philippines and Singapore? The reason why we did that was because as part of our strategy din, napansin namin na the 1 month na expedited na lahat. Basically, kung ma-prepare mo sa tulong ng corporate secretary mo yung lahat ng requirements doon, yun na din yung requirements na gagamitin mo for your incorporation in the Philippines. That's the reason why napabilis din namin yung incorporation sa Pilipinas kasi alam namin na nagawa na namin yung requirements nung nagpapa-incorporate kami ng mas mabilis sa Singapore kasi walang delays doon. So,
Correct.
tayo is nagawa natin yung Kezar
Kezar
Philippines.
Philippines took us 4 months.
4 months lang. 4 months lang na kumpleto na natin lahat. Nasa atin na agad yung SEC. Hanggang sa ngayon is yung BIR. Around 4 months, kumpleto na ready for operation. So, yun yung naging strategy namin and yun din yung sinasuggest namin sa inyo. Okay, Kat, thank you very much for being a guest of the show.
Thank you, Edward.
So, meron ka bang last message sa ating mga listeners? Magkakasama pa naman tayo sa mga next episode. Pero para dito
Yes.
sa episode na to.
So your time is precious. Your effort is precious. Everything that you do is very vital in sustaining and developing your business. So I recommend and I suggest that you find the capital, you find the resources to hire that third-party person to do everything else for you. Yes, it's not that you will not be more familiar as to how to incorporate your company. You will be familiar because they'll be asking the documents for you and syempre you're going to ask them, okay, what's it for? But it's also very crucial because that time spent that you go back and forth checking on your pending application, on your BIR, on your different documents that you need to submit, it's very time consuming. It's very
Yeah.
It's gonna tire you out eh. So you might as well use that energy and time into developing your business, into finding business partners, clients, investors for your startup.
Yeah, so I couldn't agree more. I mean, imagine having your tech guys and your CEOs and your CFOs, instead of developing new technologies and new services, they'll be there falling in line with with the requirements that you need, instead of building that million peso business that you have, and creating, developing your billion peso idea. Yun yung inuuna nyo. So again, thank you very much for that suggestion, Kat. I think our listeners would appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our show, of our podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully, nakatulong kami sa inyo. If you have questions, please comment it down sa comment section sa baba. We're gonna look into it. We're gonna do an episode na i-revisit namin yung mga questions nyo. Doon natin siya i-address. And of course, abangan nyo yung mga susunod natin na episodes na tatargetin naman yung mga iba pa na parts ng innovation journey. Particularly kung paano nyo nga mapapaganda yung startup journey nyo. Okay, I think that's it. Again, I am Edward Solicito. Thank you for listening and see you on the next episode of the Kezar Podcast. Bye-bye!